Hello, it's Mr. B, and I'm here to talk to you about it broke. Uh, talk to you about Delugeator. Delugeator is a kit editor that I made that's intended for Synthstrom Deluge, which is, if you don't know, is a really wonderful machine. I recommend it thoroughly. And when I got it, I kind of like noticed that, hey, all these settings files are made with plain text XML. And that's kind of like invoked the programmer in me. So I made this one. This is the Delugeator. As I said, it's a kit editor that shows basically nearly all the parameters that a Deluge drum kit or sample kit has. These are the general settings here, and then there's all the settings for each individual sound that the kit has. This editor is basically not meant, you can edit everything here if you want to, but since you can't hear it, there's no point really. The kind of like point of this thing is first kind of like visualize the kit, see all the parameters, see all the settings that the kit has, and also see what's available. Since, for example, I was a bit surprised that there's a huge amount of parameters, huge amount of possibilities that you might kind of like slip if you just load in a sample and play it. And also to make it's much easier to create new kits by loading in samples, rearranging them, naming them, setting basic parameters. And also there's a possibility to actually archive your favorite sounds or create kits according to the sound template that you want to create them from. But let's first see how to get this running. The first thing that you may see that I'm running Windows 10. This is a Windows 10 program. It works on Windows 10 only. Sorry, Mac owners, you can stop watching now. But yeah, I don't do stuff for Mac. And we actually tried to get it working with Mac or Linux and couldn't get it. Maybe someday, but not now. This is for Windows 10. Okay? Okay, so the first thing is that you must download the installer from the link below there somewhere and run the installer. I have run this already, so I'm not going to run this again, but it basically installs it to your program folders and creates a start menu with the link. After you have installed Delugeator, and after you have installed, you must install the other way. You must install first also Netcore 3.1 runtime. The program will warn you about it when you first started if you don't have it. It's very common framework for Windows, so there's nothing really special about it. Probably download X64-bit version, usually common nowadays. Depends on your computer, okay? But you must download it and install it. And after you have installed this, you can go to Start menu. And there it is. There's the Delugeator, and there's even a manual. So, for those who like to read instead of watch. So, and it's anyway for quick reference, so you don't have to watch this crap all over again. Yeah, Delugeator starts. Kind of grey. There are three choices here. Load kit, load kits, or new kit. Now, where are my kits, you may wonder? Well, to get this working, there's also one thing that you must do, is that you must remove the SD card from Deluge and stick it into your favorite card reader. Or take a backup copy of it, like I have done. And now is a good point to look actually the file structure. Here is the Deluge root folder, or my copy of it. In Deluge root you may find that there are 4 folders: kits, samples, songs and synths. And there's also the manual that you may or may not have read. What we are now interested here are the first 2 folders, kits and samples. Kits contain all your drum kits. Let's take a kit here, for example this one. It's just this cryptic looking XML. But you don't have to read this, Delugeator will read this for you. But the main thing here is that all the kits are stored here, and they are all stored in kits folder. There are no subfolders here. And all the samples are stored in samples folder, like you may have guessed. And here you can use subfolders. They are allowed and they are recommended. And then there's the 2 other folders, songs and synths, that Delugeator doesn't handle, and we don't care about them now. But this is basically your Deluge SD card contents. So let's load a kit in. Ta-da. A-Stone Rhythm Ace kit. Wonderful little 80s rhythm box, or is it the organ? I don't know. Anyway, yeah. There are 2 tabs here, kit settings and sounds. Kit settings are the ones that you edit when you have this affect all button pressed. And sounds, well, they are sounds that you edit when you have this button, row selector button, or whatever it is called, the colored button in the row. I'm not going to teach you how to edit Deluge, you will have to learn it yourself. So, there's a shitload of parameters here. What do they all do? Well, read the fucking manual. I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to tell you a few things. But basically, these are all the settings that are available. And there's so many of these. I was really surprised when I did this. There are so many of these different settings and these are for each sound. There's 2 LFOs for each sound. There's envelopes. There's a whole lot of stuff here. I was kind of like, oh my god, there's a lot of stuff here. And as I said, you can edit stuff here, and it will actually show this little thing here, and also at the end of a kit name here, that you have edited this kit and sound, and you should now save it. But let's look at the saving later. Let's first look at some other stuff. For example, you can load kits here. What does this mean? This basically means that instead of selecting one single file, you select a folder where you want to load all of the kits. Like this kits folder here. And now it's going to take some time because it will read check out all the samples. Oh, here they are. And here are some kits. this user interface, it sometimes doesn't fit the screen. There's so much stuff here. Maybe it will be addressed in future release, but now you have to kind of scroll a bit. Sorry. And there's a functionality here, clear list, that basically clears the list. It warns you have something saved. We don't care. Bonks. And it's back to square one, where you only select one thing. Okay. Now let's create a new kit. Ding. Here's a new kit. It has no sounds. It has settings. All these basic settings, they are the same as with what Deluge creates when it creates a new kit from scratch. So it uses that template. There are no sounds. So let's add a sound. When we get this new sound here, then we get to select a sample for oscillator 1. Let's select one from Deluge root. Here somewhere, drums. There's something, a clap. Yep. And now it has created a clap here. It's named after this sample, and the sample is in oscillator 1, and you can play it. I don't know if you can hear this now when I play it. Maybe, but the sound will loop. And you can also, when you load another sound, like that one, you can also change while playing, you can change the sound, and playing will switch to the new sound. And then you will stop. And as I was editing this, additional supplemental information that the start position and the end position actually affect the sample length, how it plays, but they are not always accurate. And sometimes it has a bit trouble starting the loop, but it's just a preview functionality. And what you are hearing is the raw sample. Yeah, nothing else affects it, no effects or stuff. So you have to go bring it to Deluge to actually hear it as it is. Okay? Yeah, let's continue. It's also possible to load a whole folder of sounds, which is here, load folder. And now, for example, well, let's load up this folder here. And now, two things happened here. First thing is that the kit name is now changed to the folder name. If the kit is called new kit, which is basically the default name. And the other thing is that all these sample names are a bit longer. If you may see, it's EH/DH hit A /clap 01, and it's just called 01 here. This is because this acts like Deluge does. It clears all the sample names if they all have the same beginning. And actually, since we have had those two samples already loaded, it now also cleared their name, since they happen to have the same starting string. So it will kind of try to create smaller names, like Deluge does also. Then there's a possibility to, of course, to rearrange these. You can select one sound, or perhaps you can select several sounds and move them up or move them down in a list. And also you can remove them. Control is your friend here. Okay, saving the kits. You may notice that dance kit and drum kit A hits have now changed. Drum kit A hits, it's a new kit. It has no file location. Dance kit is has changed, but it has a file location there. And Ace Tone Rhythm Ace is unchanged. It doesn't have any star in the end, and save is disabled. If you change something here, save becomes enabled. Okay. So there are two. This works kind of like with ordinary Word document, but with slight twist. So, for example, let's save now drum kit A hits. So you press save, and then I want to save it to a new location. Then there's a video kits there. Okay, and now I'm going to save this to this folder. So save. And now it's saved. But you may notice that if you go to see the actual folder, the kit is not saved in the root, but instead Delugeator creates the structure. So there's a kits folder, and then there's a kit itself, and then there's a samples folder. And the samples folder has a folder that's named after the kit. And this has all the samples that the kit contains. And if the kit it's an existing kit that you are changing, then save. It just saves. It just overwrites the kit file. And if there are any new samples, they are moved. I'll come to samples in a moment. And then save as. You select save as. And it opens a dialog. And now you can also change the kit name here. When you look at this afterwards, this kit name has been changed. But now, if you select to save this kit in this level, it will automatically still save it to kits folder. And if you select kits folder as a save location, then it will be saved to kits folder, and the system will assume that the samples folder is one level up, and then to the left, then down to the samples, and get it. So basically you can select either the root folder and the kit gets saved under kits and samples are saved under samples, or you can select the kit folder and the kit gets saved here and samples are saved one level up and then down to samples. Get it? It's confusing, but it works okay. So now I'm saving this. And hey, there's also some save options if we cancel this. If you don't like to want to have these subfolders here, you can. There's this save subfolder selection, and if you save as new now, still saving it as X. Save. Okay. And now, if you look at what happened in the save folder, now it's not in the root folder, as you can see. It's under kits there, dance kit X, and in samples folder, there's a folder called My New Kits, and under that is the samples folder for dance kit X. Yeah. So the idea is that samples are always saved in samples folder in a folder according to kit name. But there's a selection here. You can control the way samples are saved from here. There are three options: copy from outside, copy always, and move. And that is careful in it. So what this basically does is that copy from outside is that if a sample already, if you select the sample that you use from your Deluge samples folder, then it doesn't get moved. It stays in the same place as where it is. It doesn't get moved to a new folder. And all the samples that are coming from somewhere else in your hard disk, they are moved to this Git folder. It's also possible to say copy always, and then both samples from outside the samples folder and the samples that are in the sample folder, they all get copied to the Git sample folder. And then there's a third option: move samples from outside the samples folder get still copied. Samples from inside the samples folder, they are moved from their current location to the Git folder. Let's repeat. Move from outside, samples from outside samples folder get copied. Samples inside the samples folder don't change their position. Copy always, every sample everywhere gets copied to the Git folder. And move the samples that are outside the samples folder somewhere else in your hard disk, they get copied, and samples that are inside the Deluge samples folder, they get moved from their current position to your Git folder. And it might be possible that they are used elsewhere, and that's why it says careful, because if they are used elsewhere, you're going to fuck up that Git or song. Currently Delugeator doesn't scan that is if this sample is used somewhere. It might in the future, but future events happen in the future. Okay, and then there's another option called overwrite kits. What basically happens if I try to save this again, save as, and then I save it here again, then save. Now, as is the way with Deluge, then it gets saved as a version. But overwrite kits means that it doesn't. So if I check this like that, now it's checked. Then if I put save as and save as here, then it overwrites the current DanceKit-X file. And the last thing I want to talk about is the sound archive option here in Delugeator. What does that mean? Well, suppose you kind of like some sound, some kick drum, for example, and you want to use it in other kits, but you don't really know what makes it so good, because it's the sample, and then there's all the settings, EQ, and so on. So you would have to kind of very painstakingly recreate the bass drum, but now you don't. So, for example, you have this kick here that you have, let's say, it has a huge bass sound and some reverb. Tudum. That's lots of reverb, lots of bass. It's a very heavy sound. And now you want to save it and use the other kits. You can use this archive sound option. And now I will here create a new folder called Sound Archive. And save it as huge kick. Okay, now it has been saved. It doesn't affect the sound in the kit itself. Now I just save that. It doesn't affect that. It takes it out from the kicks, and let's see what it does. Now the sound archive, and here we have a huge kick DESF. That's Deluge sound file. It's basically just a text-based JSON file, but it has its own name. And then there's a sample here, huge kick. That corresponds to this DS file. So what you can do is that you can, for example, create a new kit here, and then you can, instead of new sound, you can load sound also. And then this opens the sound archive, and this is our huge kick. Yes. And as you can see, there's a reverb and all the bass. So this is our huge kick. And then you can add some other sounds to it using new sound or loading a folder or so on, or taking some other sounds from your favorite sounds library, and of course editing them. So the idea here is that you can reuse the sound, since the sound isn't just sample, it's also all the parameters associated with the sound. So now you can do that. And also there's an added bonus. When a new sound is created, it's created with the same default settings as with Deluge. Deluge creates new sounds with the exact same parameters. But you can change that. So I can take this file, just the DESF file, the sound file, and copy it to the Deluge folder. It's under Mr. B and Delugeator, and under Delugeator there's a folder called Deluge templates. And now there's two. Oh, actually, they are the old definition files are still there. Sorry, it's a bug. There's a default kit that's used when you are creating new kits, and default DESF file. That's basically the default setting for a new sound. And you can copy the huge kick here. As you can see, Delugeator in itself cannot copy it. You have to do it yourself. This requires administrative rights, because Windows is a bitch sometimes. And now when you close Delugeator and then you open it again, and then you create a new kit and go to sounds. There's a new thing here. It's called sound template. And now there's an option default, so I create and this creates sound with default settings, but I can select here. There's our huge kick, and I can add a new sound with some kick. And now, as you can see, there's a huge, there's that famous huge reverb and loads of bass here. That's our huge kick sound. So you can basically use this to save kind of like your favorite, I don't know, whatever you like, favorite EQ settings or something. You can create sounds with different templates and then save them and then reuse just the settings in your new kit. For example, you find a really good modulation for a hi-hat or stuff like that. Yeah, but you can do it, and it's pretty easy, especially if you consider it when you kind of edit it all in Deluge for each sound. So, yeah. Okay, and after all this hard work you have done, you may ask yourself, how do I get these kits to Deluge? Well, that's fairly simple. You just go to the folder where you have saved them. I actually recommend kind of like saving them to a single empty folder, so it's pretty easy to move them if you are not using the samples from your Deluge root, of course. But you just copy the created kits to your Deluge card using your favorite card reader where your card was attached, remember? And then you copy the samples to the samples folder. And after that, you just put the card pack in, and there they are. Your new kits. Hooray! Isn't it wonderful? The idea of this thing is to make stuff easier, and instead of just going through menus, you can get to the point, which is actually making music. Which I would also like to do, but I'm just coding these stupid programs. I'm making videos about them. Next video is about music. Delugeator will probably continue development and there will be new features. Currently you can't do synths. You can't do synth rows in a kit, even though it's possible in Deluge. You can't edit all the custom knob settings that are possible to change. And what else? You can do multi-samples, but that's actually a synth in itself. It's not a kit. And yeah, you can't see synths either. But maybe that will change someday. Maybe not. But yeah. And also people, I'm very happy if you kind of use this and like it and so on. So tell me and subscribe. And also there are bugs probably, I think, yeah, unfortunately. So I'm here, report them down there or go to Deluge forums, or I don't know, just write a pigeon and send it somewhere. Telepathy is overrated. If I don't know that your this program doesn't work for you, then I won't able to fix it. So I would kind of like suggest that if you want this program to work for you, and you find something that doesn't work, then you send me a row or two and I will try to fix it. Or contact you on and we can discuss about it. So, but hey, this is Delugeator, the Deluge kit editor, brand new 2021. Almost Corona times over. I'm just getting vaccinated. Hey, so yeah, let's do some music. Hopefully. And this has been Mr. B presentation, and this has been a Delugeator 0. No, sorry, it's 1.0. Yeah, and subscribe and party on.